Well, good morning and welcome to New Thought Talk. I am the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in beautiful downtown Madera. I want to welcome you to our show today. We've got a great guest. I'm looking forward to our interview this Saturday morning. So before I get started, I would like to share with you something that Ernest Holmes wrote, and it is in the Science of Mind book. And what he said is that the world has learned all that it should through suffering. And what he meant by that, and I'm going to read the rest of this, is the science of mind and spirit makes a tremendous claim when it states that an individual should be free from the bondage of sickness, from poverty, and unhappiness. It does, however, carefully set forth conditions under which freedom operates and the laws governing life, stating in no uncertain terms that unless man understands these conditions and obeys these laws, he will not receive the full benefit of the teachings. The world is beginning to realize that it really has learned all it should through suffering and pain. Surely there can be no intelligence in the universe that wishes man to be sick, to suffer pain, to be unhappy, and to end in oblivion. Surely if God or the universal intelligence is imbued with goodness, then it could not ordain that man should ultimately be other than the perfect expression of life. And as we go forth today and we talk about Science of Mind, New Thought, and as we do this each week, this is really the crux to what we're talking about. If you are experiencing things in your life that are less than optimal, maybe it's time that you open your consciousness up to a greater understanding of the divine creative force of the universe that we call God. And there are ways that you can do this, and New Thought is one of those ways. And so as I go into my show today, my guest is the Reverend Shirley Hart. She's had a fairly extensive history here in the Central Valley area, so I'm looking forward to all the things she's got to share with us. Shirley, welcome to our show. I'm excited to have you here today. You've got a little store down the street here, and we're going to talk about that later in the show. But before we get into that, you are a Science of Mind minister, and you have been a minister for a rather long time. And as we were talking about it today, you were sharing with me some of the teachers that you had. And oh my goodness, what I have loved to have set with these individuals that are no longer with us. So Shirley, please tell me about and tell our audience about how it was that you came to religious science in your training.
Well, the way I came was like so many people have come, and that's through a divorce and unhappiness. And I was so happy to find Science of Mind, something that I could really believe in. I remember taking the textbook home and just reading it, just like it. I didn't want to stop. And then I got remarried, and my husband and I became Science of Mind ministers.
Now, did you meet him in the Science of Mind organization, or did he decide after experiencing what you were studying that maybe this was a path for him also?
Yes, he was brought up Methodist,
okay,
but he wasn't doing anything. And I thought, if he doesn't believe in this, I went to both Unity and Science of Mind, and I thought, if he doesn't believe in this, it's not going to work. And so we went to, he worked for Jacques Cousteau down in Santa Ana, U.S. Divers. And so we were married, and we had our two children. We came together, and we started going to classes. And then we became students of the first Ernest Holmes School of Ministry.
The first Ernest Holmes School of Ministry. Well, that's exciting. Where was that at?
That was in L.A.
Was that near the original
yes,
offices?
It was on 6th and Vermont.
Oh my goodness.
Right next to Founders Church.
Oh.
And so we would go there three nights a week. And we had a practitioner class there in the summer, Dr. Orrin Moen, and then some of our teachers were Dr. Hornaday.
William Hornaday, my goodness.
And Marcus Bach.
Marcus Bach. Oh.
He was a wonder. Valentine Henley, who was a scientist and the president, Dr. Ezra Ellis, who had been a Quaker and a Methodist, and he was our dean. And then we had a rabbi for Old Testament and a chaplain for New Testament. And it was a wonderful program. It was very difficult. Half of the students, I think we started out with about 60 students, and about half of them dropped out because mostly of the science.
Yeah.
We had a large emphasis on the science.
My goodness. William Hornaday. Now, he was the first minister of Founders Church.
Yes.
I have read some of his writings. Boy, I wished I could have had the opportunity to have sit and had him share his understanding of the philosophy. You know, in a book that he wrote when he was sharing how his introduction to Ernest Holmes and to Science of Mind, how it was that Holmes eventually had him take a church, and it was on Sunday. They held their meetings in one of the large theaters. I don't remember. It wasn't the Ebell Theater, but it was one of the big theaters that they used to hold their Sunday services in. And Holmes told him that he was responsible for creating for manifesting what it was going to take to operate the church. And I don't remember now if it was $1,200 a week or $1,200 a month, but it was back in, this is I believe in the 50s. It was a substantial sum. And when he first came in that first Sunday, he talked about how there was just maybe 100 or so people in the audience, but within a couple of weeks it had filled. And from that point on, because of treatment that he and Ernest Holmes did, the abundance that was generated in that center more than covered their expenses. And you know, it is such a pleasure to sit here with you, because to actually talk to someone that had some of these individuals as their teachers, because these people really had an understanding that, you know, there is a presence in the universe, there's a power in the universe, and it is available to us. Now, you said that what brought you to this was a divorce. Right. Where did you go to begin with that first sparked your interest in this?
Sacramento.
Sacramento?
Yes. Dr. Les Bashara was the minister there. And then I also went to Unity, Dorothy and Phil Pearson.
Okay.
And then my husband, Jim Munson, we liked both of them, but it was religious science won out. And so, and I remember sometimes when we were students, there were so many Hollywood celebrities that belonged. Like we had these large forums, and we got to, you know, be like host and hostesses. And one time I helped Gloria Swanson.
Oh my God!
She brought her own food because she was a, you know, organic food person. Right. And quite a few celebrities belonged and went to Founders and other churches in the area, Hollywood. Yeah. And so Dr. Hornaday was quite involved in that whole area too. And we got to speak at Founders as students on Sunday nights. Oh, did you? So the students got to prepare and practice on Sunday nights.
What an experience.
It was a wonder. And Terry Cole Whitaker, I know many people have followed her on television. She was a year before us. There were only 4 people the year before us. And I was with Terry for a while when she was in La Jolla.
Oh, were you?
So that was a great ministry too.
Yeah, she's quite a dynamic individual. And she has been a great force in the New Thought movement over the years.
Yes, you know? Yes. Many people have come to religious science by seeing her on television.
What a great deal.
Yeah.
That's good. And so you were sharing with me what was it that Dr. Hornaday shared or told you during your class?
Well, I was very meek. My husband had this beautiful bass voice, and I couldn't seem to get my sounds out. So Dr. Hornaday would sit in the back, and one time he said, "Mrs. Munson, if you're not going to speak up, you may as well not talk." And from then on, I had to speak up. We went to this teacher that, did all these exercises with me to help me breathe and speak correctly. So it was quite a wonderful experience.
And Marcus Bach
And Homer Johnson, who the library is named after.
Yeah.
He was this beautiful man that had been my mailman in
Really?
St. Louis slums.
Oh, no kidding.
When he was young, and he was retired. He was already a minister, but he was in our class.
Oh.
And we were just so fortunate to have him, because when we were nervous or anything, Homer came and just set us all at ease.
Oh,
He was a wonderful person.
Wonderful.
Yes, we were very, very fortunate.
Huh?
And my former husband started the School of Ministry up in Seattle.
So that's where, when you left...
when we left El Centro, which was our first church.
Really?
And then I started a group in Yuma, which is still existing.
Yeah.
Because, he was the minister and I was the assistant.
Really?
We did not have co-ministers.
We
graduated in 1973.
Oh my goodness.
So that's been a while. And so I would travel to Yuma. And we started a group with 52 people there. And so that's still going.
That's still going. You actually, you have started or been involved with quite a few churches.
Yes,
right?
at one time. At one time I thought I was codependent to churches.
Okay.
Because if there were, there were 6 people left in Bellevue, Washington. And my husband was in Seattle. So the board paid me $200 a month, and actually, I never did anything on my own. God and the people there got it going, and we met in an old Catholic building in Bellevue, Washington. And then probably my favorite place was Montana.
Really?
And in 1981, I went to Montana. They only had 4 people left.
Oh.
Kalispell, Montana, and there's still a church there.
There's still a church there. That's kind of interesting, because Montana, there's some places in the country that you just don't think of this philosophy, taking hold because of the consciousness there. But Montana, my goodness.
Well, we met at Pancho Villa, a bar, and it was against the law to have a bar and a church within 600 feet. Within a limited. We met in the bar.
In the bar.
And the men took down the pictures of the nudes or covered them up during the service. Then we went to the Outlaw Inn right next door and had a class, a no host brunch afterwards on one of Addington's books, The Perfect Power Within. We'd have 30 people.
Oh my goodness.
For brunch. And we had people that would come from Great Falls over to Kalispell. Of course, they did have sometime in Whitefish or Glacier Falls, they had
How far
a
away?
cabin.
How far away was it?
Great Falls is quite a ways from Kalispell.
Yeah.
And so we had people, the people in Montana really appreciated having religious science and New Thought. Really appreciated it. And within 15 months, we had enough money to buy a church.
Whoa.
It was interesting. We had a very, I think he's still there, Lee Johnson is still the treasurer in that church there. And we donated money, and he said you'd get all your money back, but he put it in Merrill Lynch, but the interest will go toward a new building.
Oh.
And that's how we got our building. And then we let everybody use our building.
Yeah.
The Baha'i, the Unitarians, the Sufi, because there's a part of Montana that's rather, real fundamental, and they didn't believe in anything else. So.
Well, that's exciting. I want to talk more about that when we come back, but it is time now for us to take our first break, so we'll see you when we come back.
Hi, I'm Greg Rude, a local real estate agent working with London Properties. You might be thinking about buying or selling a property right now, or maybe you just have a question about real estate. I'd love to help you with that. Give me a call at 352-7716, and I can answer any questions that you might have. Maybe you've got a property that's upside down. Maybe you're interested in buying a bank foreclosure and have a question about that. Or maybe you just like someone to show you some houses that you're interested in or have a question about a particular property. Once again, give me a call. My name's Greg, 352-7716, and I'd love to help you. Thanks.
This just in. Tower District houses are selling for as little as $300 per month. If you have a job and decent credit, you can own your own home. If you can come up with a down payment, you can own a home a lot cheaper than you can rent, and your payment will never go up. Also, you could deduct most of your house payment from your income taxes. If you'd like to lock in your monthly house payment at $300 to $500 per month for the next 30 years, call Mike Briggs Properties, 486-6758. Mike Briggs Properties, 486-6758.
Hi, I'm Jason Gobelli, and I'd like you to take just a minute and ask yourself a couple of questions. Are your needs being met in the real estate business? Are you getting all the latest technology that you need to be productive in this market? Are you getting the benefits that you deserve? Do you have enough leads? Are you truly making enough money for all that hard work and time you've been putting in? If not, you might want to give me a call and we can set up a confidential interview. At Connect Realty, we're one of the fastest growing companies around. There's tons of tools and benefits for agents, like freerealtor.com showcase listings, free unlimited virtual tours, free websites with nationwide IDX. We have free virtual back office, free compliance coordinator so that you can be paid right away. There's health insurance, life insurance, and the best part is the commissions start from 80% and go to 95%. And we have one of the best retirement plans in the whole industry. Now, I cannot possibly go over everything in just this short minute. Go to the website, careers@connectrealty.com, or feel free to call us at the toll-free number, or you can even call my personal line, 559-307-0550. I look forward to talking to you. Thanks.
This segment is brought to you by Corrine Hatfield of Platinum Mortgage. If you are thinking of purchasing a new home or refinancing an existing home, call Corrine Hatfield at 917-7111.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Excuse me. Welcome back to our second segment. I am the Reverend Steve Walling from the Madera Spiritual Awareness Center. I'm glad you're with us today. And as I opened the show this morning, I was sharing with you this concept that Ernest Holmes had said in the textbook, that man has learned all that we need to learn from suffering, and now it's time to move on. And I want to continue that thought with something else that he wrote, and this has more to do with us as individuals. And what he said was, we are all immersed in the atmosphere of our own thinkings, which is a direct result of all that we've ever said, thought, done. And this decides what is to take place in our lives. Thought attracts what is like itself, and it repels what is unlike. We are drawn towards those things which we mentally image, and most of the inner processes of our thought have been unconscious. But when we understand the law, and there is a law, we learn to consciously embody what we wish and think of this only, and then we are drawn silently toward it. And what this means is that as individuals, when we have experienced things in our lives that we're not really happy with or that have held us down, that by changing our thinking, we can begin to change our life experience. So I wanted to share that with you before we got started. My guest today is the Reverend Shirley Hart from Heart's Haven, located on Van Ness in the Tower District. Shirley, I am so glad you're here. This has been great. It's got some great history here, and I wanted to share. We were talking off camera. You'd mentioned that you had taught a class that based on a book by Jack Addington, who
I think it was The Perfect Power Within You.
And you were saying after you left in Montana, he and his wife came up, and what'd they do?
I think I may be exaggerating. I'm Irish, and so I do exaggerate a lot. I think they donated $50,000 to the church. Her mother lived in Kalispell, and so he would speak for me when I left on vacation. And so I think they donated quite a large sum to the church.
Boy, what a great background past
Yes.
that you've had with some really incredible people. I have a fair number of Jack's books in my library at home. This is good reading, solid stuff. And you know, I was talking to you before we started the show about a lot of these early guys. They really had an understanding, a basic understanding of the principles of science of mind, the philosophy, and they put it to use not only in their ministry but in their personal lives.
Right.
And oftentimes they would share this through books that they wrote. And you know, what a rich background that is, and it's great. So you were in Montana. And we're going to kind of move along with your story a little bit. Where'd you go from Montana?
Well, then I went back to El Centro.
Okay.
I had a month vacation where I'd go around and speak at the different churches I had been in. Bellevue, Washington. I spoke at Salt Lake City one time on one of those travels, and then in Cambria. But this time I went to El Centro, and I didn't realize that their minister had resigned. Well, a multimillionaire in El Centro, Francis Starr, went out and bought this beautiful old Spanish church on her own. And so they had it was fixed up beautifully, the pews and everything. Several artists are down in Imperial Valley. And so the place was packed. And I think they went all over Imperial Valley getting people to come in because they asked me if I'd come back there and be the minister. And I didn't know that the minister had resigned. So I said, well, I'll meditate on it, and I decided to go back. And so I went back to El Centro. And that was my husband's first church. And and there's something about the pioneer people, both in Imperial Valley and in Montana. That's the very earthy. You know, it's a tremendous. They really took to this, you know.
To the teaching of philosophy. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So how long were you then in El Centro?
Well, then I went with Terry Cole Whitaker
Okay.
and took care of the children's church with her for a while. And then Laguna Beach had lost their minister, or he had gone somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so I was an interim minister there because Terry dissolved her ministry, Terry Cole Whitaker. And then I, let's see, where did I go after Laguna Beach? Salinas. I was assistant minister in Salinas for a while. And then I came back as an interim minister in Fresno.
And that's what brought you here?
That's what brought me here.
Okay, and that was?
That was the church. It was called Church of Religious Science on Clinton.
On Clinton. And it's still there?
And it's still there, and we had Sarah Akins, who really did a lot there, was the original person that was there, and tremendous, tremendous lady. Even in her 80s, she went back to Idaho, where her son lived, and started another group.
Another group back there? Oh my goodness. Well, when you were there, let's see, I was trying to think, and I can't think of the woman's name. It'll come to me, and we'll get back to that. But you stayed there for, again...
I just stayed there a year that time. I was an interim minister. And then the Wares came, Marcella and Wynn Ware. He was a psychiatrist and a minister, and Marcella did most of the ministry. And so they were there a long time. And then Wynn passed away, and Marcella had an illness and stayed on for a while, and she passed on. And so then the musician, in the bylaws it said that they needed another minister only in the United Church of Religious Science. So I was the only one around, except a woman that came from Modesto. And so they hired me. I think I got $200 a month. But we built the church back up, and we fixed the inside of the church, and it was a wonderful group.
That's a nice center over there. Now, Reverend Michael Torfey has got it, and he's been on the show a couple of times. You know, nice fellow, I like him a lot. But while you were there was another church here in the local area that was utilizing your facility as they were beginning to grow their congregation.
That's right. That was the New Thought.
New Thought Community, yeah.
And they met early, and then we met at 11. And that's true.
Well, that's exciting. So your church kind of helped to birth off another church, and they're doing quite well. They're located over near the airport.
Right.
And they've got a great group of lady ministers. Yeah.
Then another thing in my spare time, Unity Church, Tom Thorpe had gone back to Unity Village to be a teacher. And so they had sold their building there on Palm Street and were meeting at the Ramada Inn. And so they asked if I'd come and be the interim minister. And so I did, because I'd been back to Unity Village about 8 times. And practical Christianity. It really gives a wonderful point of view on the Bible and Jesus. And so they were paying a fortune for meeting at the Ramada Inn and for the speakers. So I accepted the interim ministry, and we found a building. One of the brokers found a building right away. And we had a wonderful board president that found a little office area for us to meet until we found that building. So now the Unity Church, that's very similar to Religious Science,
yes, they are,
is still on Shields.
On Shields.
And they're doing very well.
Oh, that's
too.
good. I understand they're looking for a minister right now.
They are. They candidated for a minister, and now they have 2 Religious Science people that speak once a month. And then they have 3 other people that are very, have been there for what's happening
Yeah.
there now, but they're doing beautifully.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's really tremendous. So I'm looking here and I'm seeing that it's about time for us to move on to our second break for this morning. So I'm going to say hasta for this segment, and I'll see you when we come back.
Mike Briggs Properties has a very special historic property for sale that can be used as a home or as a business. This classic California craftsman historical home is located in the Tower District, Fresno High area. The interior ambiance displays a heyday of craftsman aesthetics, substance, strength, symmetry, and casual grace. Elegantly appointed mahogany and oak structural elements integrate form and function in a harmonious flow from room to room in this two-story, 4,500-foot home. The property also includes a nearly 800-foot two-bedroom apartment above the garage. This property is well suited for a professional office type of business or for a large family or combined living and workspace. The lot included with this property is park-sized with plenty of room for expansion or as a parking lot big enough to support a commercial business. For more information on this property, call Mike Briggs Properties at 486-6758. Mike Briggs Properties, 486-6758.
Welcome to Jothny's Porch.
About that.
We have been
I
doing this
thought
for
about
a
that.
year. My memory of the porch is that it's very much where women ruled. It was almost a throne.
You going like that?
Oh, I'm circular. See, Southern folks are circular. What you said, preach. You want me to preach? Love sharing those things and those things that'll make you stronger and better and go for. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Turn me around. Hey, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody. Okay, no more drama in my life. To myself, I said self. Myself said yeah. Oh.
That was a good one.
That was good, girl. I'm good. I'm helping you become the best reflection of yourself. And what was that? The one God intended all along. We're going to get there together, I promise you. Thank God for the post. Amen.
You can advertise your business, your product, or your event on Central Valley Talk, the Valley's only internet television station. Several of our programs are also picked up on Dish and cable networks. For the best advertising dollar, call Central Valley Talk at 579-1360. This segment is brought to you by Blimpies in the Tower District. For all of your lunch and dinner needs, go to Blimpies in the Tower District.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Well, welcome back. We're entering our third segment today. And before we get started, I have a little more that I want to share with you from the Ernest Holmes book called The Science of Mind, which oftentimes we refer to it as our textbook, but it really is a book that is filled with so much wonderful information on how to take and change your life. And so along with the themes, what I was talking about today, I'd like to share with you this concept that Ernest Holmes called inducing thought. And it goes something like this, so you can understand this. That which thought has done, thought can undo. Think about that for a minute. That which thought has done, thought can undo. That means that we have a great deal of power in our life. And he goes on to say, lifelong habits of wrong thinking can be consciously and deliberately neutralized, and an entirely new order of mental and emotional reactions established in mind. Merely to abstain from wrong thinking is not enough. There must be active right thinking. We must become actively constructive and happy in our thinking, not merely passively so. New and wholesome ideas of life, vitality, and hope must be accepted and incorporated into the substratum of our mental life so that a more wholesome externalization may manifest in our bodily condition and environment. And that means in all areas of our lives. And that is what this philosophy, now I often refer to Science of Mind, but it is a new thought philosophy in general. And it's a philosophy that is not solely owned by religious science. We teach it, and we teach it well, but as do divine science, unity, and many other sects that practice New Thought under many other names. So my guest, Shirley Hart,
Yes.
Reverend Shirley Hart from Hearts Haven here in the Tower District. I'm having a moment this morning. Anyway, we were talking about you had been at the church on Clinton, and then you went to help them at the Unity Church. And during this time, did you have your bookstore working at that time?
No,
No. Okay.
I didn't.
So,
I did the second time I went to religious science when Marcella left, and yes, I did have my bookstore,
Yeah.
and I had an assistant that helped quite a bit.
so after Unity, what did you do?
Well, I had been teaching also,
Mm-hmm.
so that's how I've made, I have a retirement from teaching.
As a
So-
as a school teacher
As a, yes, as a
okay.
resource specialist
Okay.
for Madera County.
for Madera County. Well, okay.
So I really wanted to, and of course, I had a lot of help. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do the church thing.
Mm-hmm.
I had always wanted. Is this where you want to hear about the bookstore?
Sure. Well, we can talk about the bookstore.
Well, anyway, I'd always wanted a bookstore,
Uh-huh.
and so I was getting ready to retire, and that's when I found the bookstore, and it was about 18 years ago.
You've been there for 18 years. My
years,
goodness.
yeah.
But you were during some of that time. You were back at the church on Clinton too, weren't
I
you?
was, yeah.
Now you kind of filled in there until Reverend Michael Torfey
Yes,
came, didn't you?
yes,
Yeah.
until we had a candidating process,
Right.
and they chose Michael.
So you've had just a really great, diverse background within the religious science community in a large geographic area. What a wonderful, wonderful life experience. That's great,
Yes,
Shirley.
I'm very grateful for it.
That's tremendous. And so let's talk a little bit about the philosophy itself, because we've shared a few things. And you were sharing with me some of your ideas, so, go ahead.
Well, what really impressed me when you came in and introduced yourself into the bookstore was you said, "I'm an evangelist." And I know that, there's only one.
That's
There's
right.
only one. And when we start discriminating, then we're doing the same thing that, we don't like.
That's
That
right.
happens sometime in other churches. And so there's only one. We can learn from each other.
That's right.
And so I think that's what really. Now I keep a Science of Mind textbook over at a home I have in Morro Bay, and I had these people from India that came, and two older couples and then a younger couple, and this older man. They were there 4 days, spent his whole time reading the Science of Mind textbook.
Well, how about that?
So I think it shows the eclectic, the overall feeling, that everybody can get something from
Well,
it.
when Ernest Holmes began to teach the philosophy, he made it very clear. He didn't create anything. He didn't invent anything. What he did was he studied. And he studied just a great deal in many areas, and he took things that were common to the other spiritual philosophies and brought them together under one cover that he calls the science of mind.
Yes.
And he incorporated that, the science aspect. Some people, they don't quite get it, and I don't know that all people get even the title of the book. You know, when we talk about science of mind, most people think it's the science of our mind. But it's the science of the mind, the one. You were saying the one, and there really is that one. Eric Butterworth said, you know, what we really need to do is to get not just a greater good, but a greater God. Right. To expand God, because so often we take and we encapsulate God in this little box. He's got a big gold G, he's got a big white beard, he's got a big gold throne, and he sits somewhere that's out there somewhere, and he holds us in judgment, and he you know, when we 911 God, oh God, please help me, sometimes his line is busy. And he can't be there for us. But when you get a greater God, a greater understanding that there's nowhere where God is not, there is one.
Yes.
Just that one. And you can call it divine science, you can call it unity, you can call it, you know, home of heart, or whatever else that you want to call it. But it just really is one.
There's just one.
And for each one of us, our path is what is perfect for us right now.
Right.
And in order to understand that, we have to open ourselves up to an acceptance. Acceptance of everybody as to where they're at.
That's it. That's it. And that's like in Montana. We had the Baha'i people that came. You know, the Blackfoot Native Americans is right there.
Right.
We had naturopaths. A Sufi healer was on our board. And so there, you know, to get that really at our feeling, at our belief level. For example, I saw The Matrix.
Okay.
I didn't get anything from The Matrix until one of my customers came in, a young person, and shared with me what it really meant. Then I found this book called One by the director. The first article was, there's articles by Hindu and other places. But the last article was about the Matrix and the director that did that, on the oneness of it. Well, I couldn't believe that I had missed that. That, you know, so obvious once you know what's going on. So I think some of our young people that I would really like to appeal to, when they see these things, they get it. And, you know, we have a perfect philosophy for them.
We do, and I'm glad you mentioned young people, because in my heart, one of the things that I really want to see is that we can reach out and touch younger people. Oftentimes, and you've probably experienced this, we go to religious science churches, and the demographics of the churches, they're all 50 and over, you know, because I think there's something about living our life, we finally get to a point where we get it, you know, but if we had only got it when we were 20 or when we were, you know, 18 or whatever, what we could do with our lives, it's really empowering. And so touching young people is so important. And you know, we my goodness, we got to go to our next commercial break. Shirley, we've got so much to talk about. We're going to have to do this again real soon. But we got some more stuff to talk about when we come back, so we're going to our break, and we'll see you when we come back.
America's Sub Shop has arrived in the Tower District. Blimpie's is the best place to get delicious sandwiches, salads, baked goods, and smoothies at reasonable prices. You won't believe the great value of Blimpie's $5 combo deals. The fresh baked bread and big bowl taste will bring you in, and the friendly service and great prices will keep you coming back. A Blimpie sandwich is great on your lunch break or as a healthy meal for the whole family. Try Blimpie's today, located directly across from the Tower Theater. We know you'll love it.
Welcome to Voice of the Valley. I am your host, Kathy Wilcox, and two of Kathy's favorite things are going to be featured on the show today. Number one is money, Number
And
two.
what kind of fun moves do you can do?
Alcohol! My first guest.
Pushing back and forth ever so gently.
I have to get up. I have to show you this dress because I think it was made for me. Doesn't this just scream Maryland? I'm dressed for my Christmas parade outing, as you can see. Reindeer.
Number one selling wine from Argentina.
Argentina.
Kathy Wilcox, Voice of the Valley. Wednesdays at 2 on Channel 43.
Hi, Bill Carmichael here, manager of Valley Gold Mine Fresno. I'd like to tell everybody that we've relocated to the Tower District at 1212 North Van Ness Avenue. If you have any broken or unwanted jewelry you'd like to get top dollar for, give us a call at 559-970-8660. Also, we're on the web at www.valleygoldminefresno.com. If you're the type that likes to entertain at home, we have some gold parties that we can tell you about. And also, if you have children in schools and they have trouble raising funds, we have a great fundraiser that works as well. Once again, my number is 559-970-8660. Thank you.
This segment is brought to you by David Parker from the law offices of Parker, Kern, Nard, and Wenzel.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Well, boy, time has just flown today. Welcome back to our fourth segment. My guest today is the Reverend Shirley Hart. She has a bookstore, Heart's Haven, located on Van Ness here in the Tower District. And you said you've been there now for 18 years. Now, I got to tell you, I took my wife in there when I went to meet the Reverend Shirley Hart, and I almost lost her there. It is a great bookstore. My goodness, you've got, there's just so much stuff. But for people that are interested in New Thought and some of the other philosophies, you've got a great section in there on that stuff.
I do. I have an angel room, and I have all different religions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a joy for me to see, like this one man brought his grandmother in from the old country and said, see, they have our books here too.
Oh.
And so we have a good Christian section, a good metaphysical section, and Buddhism. I have lots of Buddhism and Eastern teachings.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Now, you're open Wednesday through Saturday?
Through Saturday,
Right.
from 10 till 4.
From 10 to 4.
Sometime I go in on Monday and Tuesday and clean up and put books away. So some of my old customers, I tell them, call and see if I'm there. So.
Now, do you ever have any activities at your store?
You know, I did before, Steve, but I'm having some difficulty with the air conditioning.
Okay.
Because my big condenser, the copper's been taken.
Oh.
So I only have the overhead fans in the back rooms and a Japanese fan in the front. So I don't have the coolest air. So I used to have a lot of groups there. In fact, the Big Red Church, they had several sessions there. Before, and I've had Reiki. I used to have Reiki people there every Saturday, and I've had even Fresno State had a vegan group there and cook and everything. But now I'd like to sell the store and really retire. So.
We're not ready to let you go yet. That's
I've really been, thinking of being on the coast a little bit more.
creating a new chapter in the life of the Reverend Shirley Hart. My goodness, and what a life it's been. This is just tremendous. The time, Shirley, there's so much about New Thought, about Science of Mind, about your life experience. Even about your bookstore that we could spend another show or two shows talking about, and we're going to have to arrange something like that. She is located once again on Van Ness. What's the address?
950 North Van Ness.
At 950 North Van Ness.
And it's a one-way street going north,
Yeah.
and it's a bright pink building,
Mhm.
so you can't miss it,
There
right
you
on
go.
the canal.
All right. Shirley,
Okay,
thank you
thank
again
you.
so much for being on the show.
Thank you
what
for
a joy.
asking me.
This is
Yes.
really, really good. Okay, well, we're getting down now to our last segment of the show, and boy, what a great guest Reverend Shirley Hart has been today. And it really, as we have our interviews and we uncover some of the history of New Thought within the Central Valley, it's been just really fun for me to learn, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. But when we put together our shows here, and we do this to get this teaching out and to get this philosophy out to you, wherever you are, and I've got to tell you, I know that we are beginning to get international viewers, and that's a wonderful thing. I'm glad to hear it. But as we do this, we want to make sure that you understand that we do this with your help and your support, not only in your viewership, but with your donations. And you have a couple of ways which you can donate. The webpage for Central Valley Talk has a link, and I believe it's right near the little video screen that you're watching, and it says donate to this show. Or you can go to Madera SAC for spiritualawarenesscenter.com, and we have a donation page also. And either one of those pages, as you go to them, I believe it takes you to PayPal for Central Valley. I know it takes you to PayPal for the Madera Spiritual Awareness Center. And you have the availability there to make a one-time donation or continuous ongoing donations. And I want you to think about something. A mere donation of 50 cents, that's $0.50, spread out amongst all our viewers, and we're getting quite a few of them right now, would support this show for an extended period of time. And that's a powerful thing, that we take this philosophy and we get it out there and we teach people how to change their lives in such a wonderful way. And you may be from a New Thought community that is not a religious science, but this show, it's pretty eclectic, and we do try to incorporate and include all the different New Thought philosophies. And you can contact us. You can email us through the MaderaSAC.com webpage. I believe we have our email address maybe on screen at some point in time here. But you can send us requests at MaderaSAC@gmail.com. And we can possibly provide something in the show that speaks more directly to you. And if you are in an area that is located outside the Central Valley, and you want to find out how to get to a New Thought center of some kind, there is a link on the internet that you can go to, and it's called findacenter.com. It's all one word, findacenter.com. If you go there, there's a world map picture. You click on the part of the world that you're from, and it will take you to, break it down, take you to centers that are located as near to you as they are, and that gives you a link or at least an address where you can contact those centers so that you can get more information that is specific to the area that you live in, to help you to grow and on your path. And the other thing is, if you happen to be somewhere where you can't get to a center, or even if you can and you want to read more, you want to find out more, there is another link. It is called newthoughtlibrary.com. And if you go to newthoughtlibrary.com, they have there a listing of so many different authors that were teachers in the New Thought community, going back to Phineas Quimby and Emma Curtis Hopkins and Judge Ford. And as you get into the philosophy, you'll learn who these individuals are and the influence that they've had on the philosophy, what they brought to the table, so to speak. And so you have these resources available to you. I want to encourage you to take the time. You've got it right there at your fingertips at your computer, and you can take and you can learn and you can change your life. And it's each and every one of us walk this path. As we learn these things, as we learn that we are not subject to the world, but our world is subject to who and what we are in our consciousness, that there truly is but one mind, that we are all connected in a unity, that in that unity we can call it God, we can call it Spirit, you can call it whatever you want, but there truly is just that one, and it is available to you because it is manifest as you. And so this is the stuff that really, it fires my soul, so to speak, and I love being able to bring and share this to you. I want to thank you for being with us today, and as I close out today, I want to say, may the light of God surround you. May the love of God enfold you. May the power of God protect you and the presence of God watch over you. For truly, wherever you are, God is, and all is well. Make it a great week, and thank you.
CentralValleyTalk.com